three marks when I check scriptures. But what really attracts God, brings about His glory, in our lives, and manifests it greater than any other thing, more than authenticity, which is so important, and even courage, which is so important. God seeks after brokenness, because in the brokenness of the Spirit, there's a huge amount of room for Him to manifest His glory and for Him to work. That's the first truth I want to tell you about brokenness. The second truth I want to share with you is that brokenness bears lasting fruit. So when we learn to live in brokenness, it bears lasting fruit. You know, sometime before Jesus went to the cross, some people his popularity was increasing, and people came to look for him. Amongst them were some Greek proselytes who came looking for him. And they said to Philip and then eventually to Andrew, "We would like to see Jesus." And Andrew came to Jesus and said, "Sir, Lord, Master, there are people who want to see you." And then Jesus said these words in John 12. He said, "Truly, truly, I say to you." Now people want to see Jesus. Andrew says, "Everybody's looking for you. They want to see you." And Jesus said, "Truly, truly, I say to you, unless a grain of wheat falls into the earth and dies, it remains alone. But if it dies, it will bear much fruit." There are two things. They said they want to see Jesus. Andrew and Philip come to Jesus and said, "People want to see you." And Jesus said, "You want to see me? If a grain of wheat falls to the ground and dies, then you see it. Then you see it." What is the greatest barrier to us in intimacy with God? The greatest barrier is not the television screen, nor the digital information highway, nor mobile phones, nor social media, nor other things that we think. The greatest distraction, the greatest barrier of intimacy with God is us. Us. We are the greatest barrier. And Jesus says this, unless a grain of wheat of self falls to the ground and dies, you're not going to be able to see me. They said, they want to see you, Master. And Jesus replies, unless a grain of wheat falls to the ground and dies, it shall not bear much fruit. But if it dies, if there's brokenness and you allow me to come in, you will bear much fruit. See, the journey of brokenness and fruitfulness took Moses from a shepherd to become a leader of a nation. You know, for 40 years, Moses is looking after sheep. So all he wants to do is just, look after sheep. Throw some stones, just to make sure the sheep turn this direction. Hold a staff and make sure that he ushers the sheep, lead them in direction. That's all he wanted. But when he became broken after 40 years, God used him to be the leader of a nation of 3 million people. He was just looking after 3,000 sheep. Now he became a leader of 3 million people. Last time his hands were very good, just patting the backside of sheep or holding a staff. Now when he raises his hands, the Red Sea opens. This is a journey into fruitfulness. For Joseph, he was a prisoner, and he then became Prime Minister of Egypt and Savior of the nation. He just didn't become Prime Minister of Egypt. Moses saved the Jewish race. How was it? They were all dying of starvation in famine in the land of Canaan. And without Joseph, there would have been no Jewish nation. God raised him to become Prime Minister of Israel so that he would have Pharaoh's favor, and then made room in the land of Egypt, in the land of Goshen, so that the people of God, 75 of them, Jacob and his sons and household, 75 came in, and over the course of 400 years, multiplied in nearly 3 million people. It became a nation. Israel became a nation in Egypt. That was the only way he could have become a nation. It could not have become a nation in Canaan when it was just 75 people, because as it grew in numbers, the enemies would have finished them off. But they grew as a nation in the land of Goshen, in Egypt. And when they were ready, God took them out in the Exodus. But Joseph, you were just a shepherd boy. Yeah, he was. You were just a prisoner and a slave. Yes, he was. But when there was brokenness, he became the savior of a nation. Paul went from being a rabbi to the greatest apostolic church planter. So here's the second thing about brokenness. When Paul became broken and his self was gone from his life, all his intellectual, abilities, all his degrees, all his Oxford, Harvard, Princeton, all that kind of is gone. And God used him and became the greatest apostolic church planter and missionary in the history of Christianity. So brokenness brings fruitfulness. Even in the secular world, you will see. This man is Ed Fergal. Ed Fergal became the US Open golf champion in 1954. What you may not know, you may not have heard of Ed Fergal before, but I use this as a point of illustration. Ed Fergal had one arm shorter than the other. He broke that arm as a boy and fractured the arm, and so his arm became weaker. That's the left arm. The arm that's left. It's a thin arm. It's crooked like that. If you've got a thin arm that's crooked like that and you can't straighten it, you don't have a chance of playing golf to win championships. There's no way. Ed Fergal changed his swing in such a way that with this broken arm that was always in this fixed area, couldn't straighten, he changed his swing in such a way that he overcame all the obstacles. And in 1954, Ed Fergal won the US Open Championship in golf. Brokenness brings fruitfulness. Those of you who are football lovers will only know the name of Pelé as the greatest footballer ever. But there's one greater than Pelé, which you may not have heard about, but all Brazilians know him. For the world, the greatest footballer, in the past was Pelé. Today it's Messi or Ronaldo or somebody like that. But in the past it was Pelé. But for Brazilians, the greatest footballer they've ever had was not Pelé, but Garrincha. Garrincha was born with his right leg 6 centimeters shorter than his left. 6 centimeters. So his right leg always curved inwards and his left leg splayed outwards. He was called a cripple when he was a boy. His parents were too poor to do anything to correct the deformity. So he grew up with one leg shorter than the other, one curving inwards, the other curving outwards. But because he learned to run fast even with this deformity, and learned to dribble the ball, because of the curved nature, the funny nature of his legs, nobody could read his dribble. They didn't know whether it was going to go right or go left. Nobody could read his dribble. And we watched Garrincha play in the 1962 World Cup when Pelé was out injured. It was Garrincha that scored all the goals that brought the World Cup to Brazil. So Brazilians know about Garrincha.